Hey guys, AJ here, back with another one. So today we're going to go over the second debate between Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp. I was in the middle of my final part of the previous debate, and then this one came out. They said I don't live in Georgia, so this one kind of came out of nowhere for me. So I'm going to try and do this one in just two parts. So let's just jump into this now because elections coming up soon, and all of my subscribers know I hope that Stacey Abrams loses, and I'm going to laugh when she does. So let's just jump into this now.
Here's your moderator, Justin Farmer.
Good Sunday evening, and thank you so much for joining us for this live debate for the Georgia governor's race. We are now just 9 days away from Election Day, and record early voting is well underway. Tonight, we'll be addressing some of the top issues driving voters to the polls and record.
So I just want to stop it there and say that when they were talking about early voting, a lot of people that Stacey Abrams have as supporters tend to vote as early voters, and then a lot of the people who vote either independent, Libertarian, Green, Republican tend to vote on Election Day. So that doesn't really say anything if you look at a report that Stacey Abrams is getting some type of early lead or whatever. So let's get back into it.
Numbers, the economy, affordable housing, crime, abortion, immigration, and voting integrity. Tonight's debate is between the two top candidates who met our 10% polling threshold. The incumbent, Republican Governor Brian Kemp, and former Georgia House Minority Leader, Democrat Stacey Abrams.
And it sucks that the Libertarian guy, he's gone, because he was actually the best part of the previous debate. So like he didn't give any fucks at all, and he was making his voice heard. So wherever you are, man, I hope you're having some good scotch, and I hope that everything's going good for you.
Some of our questions this evening will come from our panel. Tonight, I'm joined by Channel 2 political reporter Richard Elliott, WSB Community and Public Affairs
We can skip ahead just a little bit.
Georgia, about for having us.
Let's begin tonight with opening statements. Each candidate will have 90 seconds. We determine the order through a coin toss. So, Governor Kemp, if you'll start.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate WSB for having us tonight, and looking forward to the panelists and the questions. And I'm just honored to be here. I've been honored to be serving as the governor of this great state. I'm looking forward to talking about my record, but also looking forward to talking about my vision for the future. We have the lowest unemployment rate in the history of the state. We have the most people ever working in the history of our state. And we're seeing economic opportunity in all parts of our state. People have opportunity in Georgia no matter their neighborhood or their zip code. We've been focused on strengthening rural Georgia. We've also fully funded our schools and given a well-deserved historic teacher pay raise. We continue to be in the fight with our local men and women in law enforcement to go after violent criminals, street gangs, and human traffickers.
So I want to stop it here and say someone had written like a Reddit thread and said, why does Brian Kemp keep talking about his record? And it's like, what kind of stupid question is that? If you believe that your service has been well done and that you've done well, why not talk about your record? It's tangible. If you can bring statistics based on progress that's come from when you were in office, you might as well. The person that you're debating against who's never been in office is only talking about hypotheticals. So why not talk about your record? Let's get back into it.
And that's why I'm hoping to earn your vote tonight. And that's why I'm running for re-election, because I want to continue to keep Georgia the best state in the country to live, work, and raise our families. Thank you.
Now an opening statement, please, from Leader Abrams.
Thank you so much to WSB. Thank you to the panelists. And thank you to Georgia voters. Elections are a choice between where we are and where we want to be. What does the next 4 years look like? In this Georgia, right now, people are feeling economic pain. And unfortunately, under this governor, the pain is only getting worse. But I look forward to leading a Georgia where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. And I want to land on my record to do so. When I didn't win the election in 2018, I got to work. I installed 181 Wi-Fi devices throughout the state of Georgia in communities that didn't have access to the internet during COVID.
But you also didn't concede the election either. immediately. And here's the interesting thing that I know there's been some other commentators who are talking about this is she was questioning the election the last time. So if she wins, which I hope to God she doesn't, if she does win, is she going to say that this one is legit, or is she going to have them rerun the numbers? Pretty funny, huh? Let's get back into it.
I paid off the medical debts of 68,000 Georgians during COVID to make sure they didn't have to choose between food and health care. I did the work I could to serve the people of Georgia, whether I had a title or not. But I've enjoyed a number of titles in Georgia: state legislator, small business owner, and Georgia citizen. And as your next governor, I will take the money that we have in our coffers, a record $6 billion surplus, and invest it in you. Put the money into healthcare, housing, education, and making a good living. But I will also protect our freedoms and our rights right to be secure in our persons, our right to control our bodies, our right.
And there goes the abortion thing. She knows that this whole Roe v. Wade thing is going to be one of the major contributing factors to the vote. So, of course, she's talking about rights. And instead of talking about rights with the police or anything else, she's going to go to the whole abortion thing, of course.
To be safe and our right to vote. This election is indeed a choice. And I look at my record and the record of the governor. And I will say that we need to see whether we want a man who's put the wealthy and the powerful first, or a woman who's only ever stood on the side of Georgians. And that's the choice we get to make tonight.
Tonight, we thank each of you for being here to hear the questions that we know are on the minds of Georgians. Tonight's debate guidelines are very straightforward. Each candidate will have 90 seconds for a response to a question and roughly 45 seconds for rebuttals. So let's get underway. And we'll start with inflation. And we know that Georgians are hurting with the crippling inflation. So the question to each of you, please, is what can a governor do? What would you do, please be specific where you can, or continue to do as governor to help Georgians right away? And we'll start with Ms. Abrams.
So I want to interject here and say that this is a different debate style. So they're giving them questions and giving them more time to give a response, and also allowing them to have more of a dialogue, react to each other's questions directly. So let's get back into it.
Thank you. The economic pain people are feeling, it's real. And inflation is actually worse here in Georgia than in 36 other states. In fact, the problem is that Georgia has some of the lowest wages in the nation. And because of that, we need a governor who's going to use her power to focus on the cost that a governor can control. Tackling affordable housing, which this governor has refused to do. Tackling the issue of health care cost. If we expand Medicaid in the state of Georgia and accept the $3.5 billion to which we are entitled, we will lower health care costs for every Georgian. It has worked in 38 other states, and it will work here in the state of Georgia. We can make certain that families can afford to send their children to school, whether it's pre-K, K through 12, or making sure they can go on to college and technical college by making technical college free again. But we also have the responsibility of understanding what is driving.
Now, I do agree that they should make like technical college and some college free. So yes, I do agree with her there.
Jobs away from Georgia. Under this governor, we've lost $150 million in investment. Music Midtown pulled out. We lost the MLB game. We know that the entertainment industry is thinking about leaving Georgia because of the abortion ban that is driving women away. And we know that this is a governor who has refused to do right by our people. As governor, I will not only lower costs, I will put more money into the pockets of working Georgians, of middle-class Georgians. But what I will not do is give tax cuts to the wealthy and the powerful. I will focus on our workers and our small businesses, putting them first, making sure that especially our minority-owned businesses and our rural businesses get access to contracts. A record $10.9 billion is coming to Georgia, and as governor, I'll make sure the money is spent fairly.
Governor Kemp, what can a governor do right away to help Georgians?
Well, listen, it's not just what we can do right away, it's what we've been doing. And this is why I want to stay focused on what my record has been, but also what my vision is for the future. Americans are hurting right now because of a disastrous policy agenda by Joe Biden and the Democrats that have.
And that is what I knew he was going to go for. She was talking about inflation and how Americans are hurting, but then she is a Democrat that is endorsing Joe Biden, so you knew he was going to go for the jugular there.
We've had 2 record years for economic development in a row, record number of investment, record number of jobs, and people's salaries are going up. The problem is they're not going up fast enough to keep up with Joe Biden's inflation, which is why I worked with the General Assembly and the leadership last year to return $1 billion of your taxpayer money to you, to put into your pocket, to help you when you go to the grocery store, because eggs are 30% higher, milk and poultry's 15 and 17% higher. But we also did other things. We have suspended the gas tax since March, saving every Georgian 29 cents a gallon every time they fill up, to just help them fight through the 40-year high Biden inflation. We also
29 cents a gallon. That's absolutely insane.
cut taxes last year, largest income tax cut in Georgia state history last year, because we were open, our economy was resilient, and we were seeing record revenue. In the future, we want to do the tax rebate again, do it again in January to put another $1 billion back in your pocket, and also do a one-time property tax relief grant to help Georgians deal with the rising property tax values when their commissioners at home are not rolling the millage rate back.
Now, I want to stop it here, and I haven't really looked into this property tax relief, but that would be interesting. Maybe I'll do a video on the concept of that soon, but people, they will criticize Brian Kemp and say, oh, he gave all of that money back to the citizens, but most of the money went to a certain group. But he is stating fact, but it's politics, guys, you know. Don't sweat the details. It's politics.
To each of you, we know from our viewers that in addition to the economy, crime is top of mind. We know Atlanta is experiencing record violent crime right now. People do not feel safe gassing up their cars, going to a mall, or going out for a run. So, Governor, what have you done? What can you do more? And Ms. Abrams, I'll ask, what might you do as well? Governor?
Well, I would just say,
And this is where Stacey Abrams is just going to dive, dip, duck, dodge, and dodge, because she's openly criticized the police in the past, and whereas Brian Kemp hasn't. And the average person, I believe, isn't going to care about what nuances that there are if they feel that their neighborhood isn't safe. So I think that Stacey Abrams didn't really plan on, when she made those statements she made about like BLM and all that other stuff, she wasn't really thinking long term about what the repercussions of those statements would be, and think that Brian Kemp would jump on those statements to actually show her as being anti-police, anti-peace, and then against any type of anti-crime legislation. Let's get back into it.
again, look at my record. You know, this is going back to 2018. I was the candidate in that race that ran on a platform to go after street gangs and drug cartels, because I knew it was a problem. When a lot of other people made fun of that issue, they said, oh, this is just your normal Republican, you know, talking about being tough on crime. But if you visit every county in our state, all 159 of them like I have, and talked to sheriffs and prosecutors and others, I knew there was a gang problem. And that's why I ran with a very straightforward agenda to create a gang task force at the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to join with the locals to help them in prosecution and locking up gang members, going after those that are selling dope on our street and killing our kids and our community members, and we've done that. But we've also been in the fight with locals when we had civil unrest, when we had unruly people that were literally trying to burn our capital city down. This past session, we gave our Attorney General more powers to go after street gangs because of, quite honestly, local DAs that don't want to prosecute gangs. So we're taking that fight into our own hands, and I appreciate the support of the General Assembly to put more resources at the Attorney General's office. And if you read the papers in the last 3 or 4 weeks, incredible indictments that we're getting on street gangs in our state. We've also led the country on efforts to raise the awareness to ending human trafficking, going after the perpetrators, and supporting the victims, many which are women and children.
Now, I was asked by a friend of mine who saw one of my previous videos and goes, why do a lot of Republicans do this pro-police stance? And people who might not be old enough to remember like Reagan and Bush, because it works. It works. There's a large segment of people in the United States that want to know or want to believe that whoever is in charge is about law and order because they're afraid of any type of like civil unrest or any of that. So Brian Kemp is doing the basic Republican playbook with plays that work. Let's get back into it.
Leader Abrams, what would you do to help people feel safer?
First, I would encourage people to indeed look at the governor's record. Under his 4 years, violent crime has gone up. Gun violence has gone up. Guns are the #1 killer of our children. We have the 9th highest gun violence rate in the nation. Family violence with guns has gone up 18% under this governor. And his response was to weaken gun laws in the state of Georgia and eliminate a background check that kept thousands of guns off of our streets and out of the hands of dangerous people. We must indeed tackle the issue of street gangs. But this is a statewide challenge, and we have a governor who's only focusing on parts of the issue. We have to have a governor who's thinking holistically about what we need to do from cradle to career to ensure that our children are on the school to success pipeline and are not being drawn into street gangs because they lack access to resources in their schools. This is a governor who slashed $1 billion from education in 2019 and only restored funding to education when federal Democrats delivered dollars to the state of Georgia. We need a governor who's going to be a partner with local governments, not attack them for trying to do their jobs. And we need a governor who understands that we must have stability in housing, access to health care, and that our law enforcement cannot be the #1 provider of mental health support in the state of Georgia. Right now, our law enforcement is being distracted because they've got to put people in jail for being sick instead of going after dangerous people. I want to expand Medicaid to put money into the pockets of Georgians, but also put resources in the hands of law enforcement. I want to make certain that our violent crime goes down by strengthening our gun laws and making certain that we are protecting our communities across the state.
Now, some of that I agreed with, but anywhere in the South, like I said, I don't live in the South, but there's a lot of fentanyl and all this stuff coming up from Mexico and the Mexican drug cartels. So it would be interesting to have her address what she's gonna do for like street gangs and cartels and all these fentanyl rings and all of that, because she kind of left that out of her answer. Let's get back into it.
Governor, rebuttal.
Yes, look, I would just like to make sure folks at home know that it looks like this debate's going to be a lot like the last one. Ms. Abrams is going to attack my record because she doesn't want to talk about her own record.
Savage.
We're not the local police department. You know, I'm not the mayor. I'm the governor. I'm in charge of the state police force. We are working with the locals to go after violent crime, and we'll continue to do that. But the point here is Ms. Abrams that has said that she wants to defund the police. She wants to eliminate cash bail and have get-out-of-jail-free cards. She continues to serve on the boards of organizations like the Margaret Casey Foundation that actually raises money and gives grants to organizations that support and promote the defund the police movement.
Absolutely.
There are 107 sheriffs across this state that are supporting my campaign.
Absolute facts. And I knew he was going to go there with this because Stacey Abrams came out with this whole defund the police stuff and acting crazy in 2021 and early 2022. And now he's going to always push her on this because right now law and order is a big deal in Georgia. And if you say that you want to defund the police, that's a pretty bold statement. If you're making any type of tangible efforts to do so, then you have to know that any candidate that's going to run on a purely law and order standpoint is going to keep hammering this point home.
Because they know I will have their back. They also know that I will be on the front line standing beside them to go after violent criminals, street racers, street gangs, and human traffickers.
If I may.
Yes.
First and foremost, yes, local police are responsible for 90% of law enforcement. And this governor 4 years ago said it was not his job to help local police make certain that they had fully funded opportunities. It would cost $136 million to provide additional funds to our local police officers so they can make certain they're protecting our communities instead of working 2 jobs to take care of their families. We need a governor who understands that local governments need help now. And that, yes, while street gangs are important, so is the violent crime being perpetrated by dangerous people who have access to weapons because of Brian Kemp. I believe in public safety. I did not say, and nor do I believe in defunding the police.
Bullshit.
He is lying again, and I've never said that I believe in defunding the police.
Absolute bullshit. Let's say, okay, here. She might not have said it, but she sure was at those rallies, and she sure was part of these social media movements and on these podcasts with people that were saying this. So let's give her that she didn't say it. She sure was hobnobbing with all these dumb sons of bitches that were saying this. She makes me crazy.
I believe in public safety and accountability, and I would have you look at my record. 11 years in the state legislature, 11 years serving on the Judiciary Non-Civil Committee, working with law enforcement, working with our Sheriff's Association, working with local governments, and I'm the only person standing here who's ever actually written standards of operating procedure for police departments, because I know what they need, and they need a governor who will invest in local officers as well as statewide enforcement.
I'll each of you have another rebuttal on this topic.
Yeah, well, I would tell people to please check the record, because we have given state law enforcement pay raises. We did one this past year. We did law enforcement grants of $1,000 to local law enforcement when many other counties and local jurisdictions wouldn't do that with federal COVID money, showing our appreciation for our men and women in law enforcement. And I would tell you to go check the record, because Ms. Abrams on CNN got asked the question, would she defund the police? And she said, yes, we have to reallocate.
Ooh, burns. That hurts, doesn't it?
Resources. That means defunding the police. She proposed in 2018 eliminating cash bail. Men and women in law enforcement know who is going to be with them, who has had their back and will continue to have their back, and that is me. And that's why we have the endorsement of 107 sheriffs around this state.
As I've pointed out before, I'm not a member of the Good Old Boys Club, so no.
What the fuck does that have to do with anything? That's called a deflection, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't have 107 sheriffs who want to be able to take black people off the streets, who want to be able to go without accountability. I don't believe every sheriff wants that, but I do know that we need a governor who believes in both defending law enforcement, but also defending the people of Georgia. I have two brothers, one who's
Here we go again with the brother story.
committed crimes and one who is a social worker trying to help keep people from committing crimes. But my brother who commits crimes should be held accountable, but my other brother should never be pulled over for driving while black, and yet in this Georgia, he is. I'm running for governor because we lead complicated lives, and we need a governor who's willing to hold law enforcement accountable, but also be supportive. And yes, pay raises have been given to state law enforcement, but local law enforcement are experiencing shortages that are not being funded by this governor. And federal COVID money as a bonus is not the same as a plan for their investment. And I'm the only one with a clear plan to invest in local law enforcement going forward.
Well, then you shouldn't have said that you didn't want to defund the police, because all that is moot, and most people, all they need to hear is you want to defund the police, and they're not going to listen to you anymore.
Thank you. Let's turn to our panel, please, and Channel 2 political reporter Richard Elliott.
This is a question for both candidates. Along with the economy and crime, one of the major issues is abortion. And
here we go. She was waiting for this one. I just want to get into this really fast, guys. So technically, I'm pro-choice because of rights. Like, I believe that people have that the government shouldn't be telling anyone what to do with their person at all. Like, personhood is the most important to me. But if you look at the numbers, me being black, I really wish that there was some way to slow down the abortions with the black community, because 40% of all abortions are black, yet black women only make up 7.5% of the population. So do the math, right? Like, Planned Parenthood back in the day was implemented to keep the black population under control. And it looks like, whether they mean to or not, that's what's been going on for the last 60, 70 years. So I can say that from a macro standpoint, I think that the government shouldn't tell anyone what to do with their personhood, but at the same time, blacks tend to be, like, we're basically doing what Margaret Sanger and the rest of them told us to do, and that's basically eliminate the black population. I'll probably make a video about that to kind of give my deeper thoughts, but let's just see what they have to say about this abortion issue.
Governor, I want to ask you first, while the overturning of Roe v. Wade and the subsequent implementation of the Georgia heartbeat law has support in conservative circles, recent polls show it does not have the support of a majority of Georgians. And they worry that the legislature may seek more restrictions this coming year. Can you say now whether you will push for more restrictions, support legislative efforts to create more restrictions, or sign any bill into law that would further restrict abortions?
Well, I would tell people that we passed the heartbeat bill 3 years ago. We are a state that values life. I understand people disagree on when that issue may be comfortable for them.
And they never will agree either. And that's why I tell everyone, don't even argue the when does it become life type deal, because you're just going to argue until you're blue in the face.
Or not. They've known my position for 10 years, and I've been honest and transparent with them. But also, we've done a lot of other things to protect life in this state that everyone does agree with. We've done bipartisan foster care reform, adoption reform to make it more affordable and cut out bureaucratic red tape so that people can adopt a child in this state. We passed a landmark Mental Health Parity Act this past year, broad, unanimous, bipartisan support to deal with issues and suicides and other things out there to get people the care that they need, valuing life in our state. We've done the same thing back in 2019 when we did school security grants long before the tragedy in Uvalde, Texas, to make sure that we're valuing the life of our children and our educators in the classroom and keeping them safe. And so, you know, I understand that people can disagree on policy, but at least people know where I have been. I've been consistent, I've been transparent, I've done the exact things I said I could do, and I think that's a good reason for people to re-elect me. I mean, nobody's gonna agree with the governor every single time on every single issue, but at least I've been transparent. But I will tell you, my focus in the future, going into the next session, is gonna be on helping Georgians fight through 40-year high inflation.
And the man makes an excellent point. And I want to follow up my previous kind of sidebar with, guys, we live in the United States. If the state that you live in has abortion banned or a 6-week ban, move somewhere else. That's a beautiful thing about the current United States. We have more access to money and mobility than ever before. Get on a Greyhound and move to Colorado or New York. They're never going to ban abortion there. But right now, if you don't agree with the abortion laws in your state, move to a different state. Plain and simple.
Let me press you a bit on that. If the legislature passes a more restrictive abortion bill, would you sign that bill?
Well, I'm not going to count on, say yes or no to any specific piece of legislation without actually seeing exactly what it's doing. It's not my desire to go move the needle any further on this issue. We've been dealing with this issue for 3 years. That's where the General Assembly was. I personally don't see a need to go back, but when you're governor, you have to deal with all kind of legislative issues that are out there. So we'll look at those when the time comes. But again, my focus is going to be on helping Georgians fight through the 40-year high Joe Biden inflation that's been caused by disastrous policies in Washington, D.C. And we're going to be, our first order of business is going to do another tax rebate, to do property tax relief, to help Georgians to be able to cope with going to the grocery store or the gas pump.
So let's be clear, he did not say he wouldn't. We know that he has praised the Texas bounty system that allows neighbors to make $10,000 by reporting on women. We know that under the law that he signed, women can be investigated for miscarriages and other pregnancy losses, and that 52 counties,
And that's why they should just move.
have said that they indeed will pursue those investigations because they don't think they have a choice. We know that under this governor, women are in danger. Georgia is already #1 for maternal mortality, and it is only going to get worse when women are forced to carry pregnancies, when 1 in 5 women in Georgia does not have health insurance before.
But all women can be selective with who they sleep with.
Pregnancy will be compelled to carry that pregnancy to term, And while there has indeed been improvements in Medicaid to provide access for women during pregnancy on the first birthday of that child, that health care goes away. Brian Kemp does not have a plan for the lives of the women who are being forced to carry pregnancies to term that are unwanted pregnancies. But more importantly, he refuses to protect us. He refuses to defend us, and yet he defended Herschel Walker.
Protect us? I don't see you getting pregnant anytime soon, Miss Abrams.
Saying that he didn't want to be involved in the personal life of his running mate, but he doesn't mind being involved in the personal lives and the personal medical choices of women in Georgia. What's the difference? Well, I would say it's the equipment. And I will tell you that as women in Georgia, we should listen very carefully to the fact that this governor has not only refused to protect you, he simply said he hasn't heard how bad it can get before he decides if he's going to do anything to help. As the next governor of Georgia, I will repeal HB 481, and I know we can do it because it only passed by 1 vote in the House, 3 votes in the Senate, and the women of Georgia and good men are going to stand with them to make certain that I'm the governor who gets that bill taken off the books and restores bodily autonomy to the women of Georgia.
I don't know, because they say that there's this red wave that's going to come through most of the country in the midterms. So it might not just be 1 vote, Miss Abrams.
Governor, is that true? Would you support prosecuting women?
Well, let me just say, Justin, that's absolutely false. Again, Ms. Abrams attacking my record because she doesn't want to talk about her own. I would ask Georgians to ask for the facts on this legislation. If they don't have the facts, they should contact our campaign office. We will be glad to see you. Women are not going to be prosecuted under this piece of legislation. Doctors that perform.
Now, you notice how he said this, meaning the current legislation. He didn't say anything about a future one. That's what we call politics, ladies and gentlemen.
Illegal abortions would be. The thing is, Ms. Abrams continues to attack my record because she doesn't know, she can't tell you what her record is. She's changed it 3 different times during this campaign, saying, she wouldn't answer the question when she first got interviewed. Then her campaign came back, said she's for illegal abortion at viability, and then answered again, it's between the doctor and the women, the female. Even if it's 7 months or 8 months, if a doctor says okay, then you can get the abortion. Well, if somebody paid a doctor enough, then there may be people out there that give them the go-ahead. I think that's just a tragic situation myself. I understand my views may be different than other people, but that's what the legislative debate was all about. But for her just to misrepresent what's in the legislation it's not being truthful to you.
I'm being absolutely honest, and so are the 11 district attorneys representing 52 counties. So are the sheriffs who said that they believe that the way they read the law, they would indeed be required to investigate. For those of you who don't do the law as a daily job, remember the show Law and Order. There's the law where they do the investigation and the order where they do the prosecution. What we are
nice analogy, Stacey.
saying and what the law says is that in order to determine whether a woman's going to be prosecuted, she has to be investigated. And this is true. It happened in Texas, which has an identical law. We know that in Georgia, women are not safe from investigation. I have a sister who had a miscarriage.
So you should keep your legs closed.
I was there the night that she lost her child. And I was there when when she had to talk about the nurse who called to ask her about the state of her.
Hold on, guys. I have to go get my little violin for her while she tells this bullshit sob story.
Pregnancy, twice. The trauma that women undergo after miscarriage should not be minimized, and it should not be.
What does this have to do with abortion? That's the thing that I don't understand.
Investigated. But more importantly, in the state of Georgia, we have a governor who does not believe in a woman's right to choose. I have always been consistent. Since I became a legislator, I've been strongly consistent and very clear about my position. Abortion is a medical decision. It is a decision that should be made between a doctor and a woman. It should only be a doctor and a woman, not a politician who makes this decision. And I believe that
But aren't you making that decision as a politician? Huh. Funny how that works.
A woman who makes a decision to have an abortion, if it happens late in her pregnancy, it is a traumatic experience. And it is deeply, deeply concerning to me that anyone would minimize what a woman is experiencing late in her pregnancy when she has to make a terrible decision. That decision should not be adjudicated by men in the state legislature, but by a woman and her doctor. And that is what I will defend, and I will stand in that space and defend women with every breath in my body, especially as the next governor of the great state of Georgia.
And Leader Abrams, if I may, to be fair, with the question for you was, while polls show a majority of Georgians do support access to abortion rights, most also support some limits on it. What limits would you be okay with if you were governor?
Uh-oh.
Absolutely. As I have said, abortion is a medical choice. And as such, it should be that a woman has the ability to make a decision until viability. And that decision about viability should not impact her life or her health. That is a decision that should be made between a doctor and a woman as a medical choice. I said that on Fox, I said that on CNN, I said it on The View, I said it to Teen Vogue, I said it to Elle Magazine. I think anywhere you look, I've said it again and again, and it is willful ignorance or misleading lies that change what I've said. But what I've also always said is that there should not be arbitrary timelines set by men who do not understand.
So she's basically saying that there shouldn't be limits, because she's not using any numbers. She used viability, which is still not really well defined. And then she's not using numbers either. So this whole answer is just bullshit.
And biology. This is a law that tells women they have to make a decision about their pregnancy before they know they're pregnant. And in a state with 82 counties without an OBGYN, in a state where women are denied health care, when 1 out of every 5 women does not have access to medical insurance, it is a terribly dangerous position to put women in. And it is a position this governor will only put women in because he defends Herschel Walker, but will not defend the women of Georgia.
Well, I would just say, for the record, you can go check this as well. There was a female state senator that actually carried this piece of legislation.
Boom, there you go. Even the Alabama abortion ban and then the Georgia ban that had been passed, and then Hollywood threatened to pull out or whatever. A lot of these abortion bans are actually drafted by women, and that kind of blows up a lot of the arguments for a lot of people on the far left.
So there were a lot of women that supported this bill. I understand people differ greatly on it. Again, Ms. Abrams failed to answer the question.
Yes, she did.
That was asked of her. But listen, I'm a husband and I'm a father to 3 daughters. I have been in the doctor's office with my wife and seen 2 heartbeats on an ultrasound. I've gone back a week or so later and saw 1 heartbeat. My wife and I have both had a hard time having our first child. She miscarried. It is a tragic, traumatic situation. But that 1 heartbeat that we saw that second time we went back is our oldest daughter, Jarrett.
So we're going to end here because this is about halfway through. But I think that this whole debate itself is that Stacey Abrams needs to understand she's never going to live down the whole defund the police trend that she got caught up in. And I really think that she's banking on this abortion thing a bit too much, because people, when polled, they care more about gas prices and food than abortion. It's a small group of loud people on Twitter that really make it seem like abortion is a bigger issue than the economy. So we're going to do part 2 tomorrow. Check for that. Thanks to all my new subscribers. I appreciate you all. Like and subscribe for anyone else who watches. Election day is coming soon. Stay safe, and I'm out of here.